They walked in. They did not walk out. No body, no signal, no last known location that makes any sense. Just a person, a real person, with a family waiting somewhere, who entered a national park and disappeared, gone, completely. Sometimes in the middle of a trail they had hiked before, sometimes in clear weather, sometimes with other people nearby. Since 2018 alone, more than 1,100 people have been reported missing inside America's national park boundaries. Most of them were found. Most cases close within hours or days. A lost hiker, a disoriented visitor, a child temporarily separated from their group, but not all of them. The National Park Service maintains an official cold case list. Open cases, people who went in and were never found. Not a body, not a clue, not a definitive answer. Some of those cases are years old. Some are decades old. Some date back to the 1930s. And the parks on this list are the ones that appear on that list most often, the ones where the terrain swallows people, where search teams deploy with dogs and helicopters and drones and come back with nothing, where a file stays open for 40 years because there is simply no answer. Today we are counting down the 10 U.S. national parks where the most people have gone missing, the documented disappearances, the cold cases, and the specific verified reasons why some of these parks seem to make people vanish. Hit subscribe. We cover the real side of America's wild places every week. Let's start with a park that most people would never associate with disappearances at all. Number 10. Chiricahua National Monument, Arizona. Chiricahua National Monument is small, 11,985 acres in the Dos Cabezas Mountains of southeastern Arizona. Balanced rocks, hoodoos, quiet trails through high desert terrain. It is not famous. It does not appear on most bucket lists. It is on the National Park Service's official cold case list, and the name attached to it is not a hiker or a tourist. It is a ranger. On January 13, 1980, Paul Braxton Fugate, 41 years old, a Park Service employee who knew this terrain, left the visitor center at approximately 2 in the afternoon to hike a trail he knew. Standard, routine. He was wearing his full ranger uniform, the green and gray, the NPS arrowhead patch, the gold badge over his heart. He was never seen again. Search teams combed the surrounding terrain extensively, multiple times. They found nothing. No uniform, no badge, no remains, no sign of where he went or what happened after he left the visitor center that afternoon. Investigators suspected foul play almost immediately. A formal missing persons case was opened. It is still open. The reward for information leading to Fugate's whereabouts started at $20,000. It has since grown to $60,000, offered by the National Park Service for one of their own, 45 years later. Now imagine you are hiking one of the quiet trails at Chiricahua on a January afternoon. The light is flat and cold. The hoodoos cast long shadows. There is no one else on the trail. A ranger walked this exact path on a day like this. He never came back. And if the disappearance of a park ranger who knew the terrain is one kind of unsettling, the next park loses people in a completely different way. Not in obscurity, but in one of the most photographed and heavily visited places in the country. Number 9. Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado. Rocky Mountain National Park covers 265,000 acres in northern Colorado, over 4 million visitors a year, iconic peaks, alpine lakes, elk in the meadows at dawn, Trail Ridge Road, one of the highest paved roads in the United States, cuts across the tundra at over 12,000 feet. And since the park was established in 1915, it has accumulated one of the longest records of unexplained disappearances of any park in the country. The NPS cold case list shows multiple open Rocky Mountain cases. In February of 2019, 70-year-old James Pruitt left from the Glacier Gorge parking lot for a day hike. His car was found the next day. No backcountry permit, no intended destination told to anyone, no trace of Pruitt ever found despite extensive search operations that were eventually suspended due to extreme winter conditions. In September of 2023, 49-year-old Chad Palanche, an experienced hiker, set out from the North Inlet trailhead. He did not return. 2 weeks of searching, nothing. The oldest open Rocky Mountain case involves a 22-year-old graduate student named Joe Halpern, who vanished on August 15, 1933, near Taylor Peak. The case is listed in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. It has been open for over 90 years. Unsubstantiated sightings of Halpern surfaced across multiple states in the years following: Arizona, Nebraska, Michigan, but none were ever confirmed. Nobody knows what happened. 90 years. No answer. Still open. Now imagine you are at the Glacier Gorge trailhead parking lot in February. You notice a car that has been here since yesterday. The windows are fogged. The snow around it is undisturbed. A ranger runs the plates, comes back, starts making calls. And if a park with 90-year-old open cases sounds like a record, the next one on the list has a park ranger on its cold case list too. And a wilderness so remote that the search teams that went in for the most famous missing person case on record came back with absolutely nothing. Number 8. Glacier National Park, Montana. 1 million acres on the Canadian border in northwestern Montana. Going to the Sun Road, grizzly bears, cliffs that drop directly into glacier-fed lakes the color of turquoise. At least 13 people have gone missing inside Glacier National Park since 1913 and were never found. 13. That number sounds small. It is not small for a park of this size and visitor volume, and it is almost certainly an undercount. In July of 2019, Mark Sinclair of Whitefish, Montana, was last seen hiking the Highline Trail, one of the most popular trails in the park. Broad, well-marked, heavily traveled in summer. Search teams used ground crews, K9 units, drones, aerial infrared flights, and helicopter support. Nothing. His photo was posted on the trail where he disappeared. It stayed there for months. In 2024, 32-year-old Grant Marcuccio separated from his hiking party between Heavens Peak and McPartland Peak. 2 Bear Air, Forest Service helicopters, ground teams, gone. The Glacier National Park Chief Ranger said it plainly. People that want to be found. We clearly still can't find them, just because of the amazing landscape we have here. The cliffs, the water, the vegetation, there's just so much going on that it's very hard if we don't have any clues. He said that about people who want to be found. Now imagine you are hiking the Highline Trail. It is a beautiful trail, clear day, other hikers around you. You pass a photograph posted to a post along the path. A man, last seen here, July 2019. The trail continues. You keep walking. The cliffs are above you. The valley is below. That photograph has been hanging there for years. And if a park where a heavily traveled trail swallows hikers is one kind of disturbing, the next one does it in a landscape so different, canyon country, desert heat, depth beyond comprehension, that the missing person cases there have a completely different texture. Number 7. Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona. Since 2018 alone, in just 6 years, the Grand Canyon has had 56 missing persons reports and 6 confirmed deaths from people who went missing and were later found. That data comes from a Washington Post investigation citing Department of Interior records. 56 people, 6 years. The Grand Canyon is 277 miles long and over a mile deep. The backcountry below the rim is one of the most complex, remote, and inaccessible terrains in the continental United States. There are trails that descend into the canyon and do not connect to other trails. Dead ends at the canyon floor with no exit except back the way you came. There are side canyons that branch off the main corridor and go for miles without a maintained path. There are sections of the inner canyon where aerial rescue is complicated by the depth and width of the walls. A retired chief of emergency services at the Grand Canyon has estimated roughly 12 people die in the canyon every year. The missing persons cases add a different layer. People who went in and whose outcomes took days or weeks to determine, if they were determined at all. The canyon does not give up what it takes easily. It is a mile deep and full of terrain that search teams have to descend into on foot, by rope, or by air. And air is not always available in the canyon's narrower sections. Now imagine you are a family member waiting at the south rim. It has been 3 days since the last contact. The rangers have been searching. They have good teams. They know this canyon. They also know how big the canyon is. They are still looking. And if a canyon a mile deep makes the search that difficult, the next park has a different problem entirely. It has the highest number of active cold cases of any national park in the United States, by a significant margin. Number 6. Yosemite National Park, California 10. That is the number of active, unsolved missing persons cold cases at Yosemite National Park according to the National Park Service. 10 open cases. The Grand Canyon has 5. The Great Smoky Mountains has 4. Every other park in the system has 1 or fewer. Yosemite has 10. That makes Yosemite officially the national park with the highest number of unsolved missing persons cold cases in the United States. The most haunting is Stacy Aris, 14 years old, on July 17, 1981. She was on a family vacation at Tuolumne Meadows. She went on a guided horseback ride to Sunrise Lake. At the lake, she told the group she wanted to walk to a nearby rock to photograph the view. The guide watched her walk. She went out of sight around a boulder. She never came back. 150 searchers, 67 Mountain Rescue Association volunteers, dogs, helicopters, a 3 to 5 square mile search area. 11 days, nothing. No footprints, no clothing, no camera, no remains, no trace of any kind. If Stacey Arras were alive today, she would be 58 years old. The case is still open. 9 other open cases sit beside hers on Yosemite's cold case file. Different people, different decades, different sections of the park. Same outcome, gone, without explanation. Now imagine you are at Tuolumne Meadows on a July morning. The same meadow, the same trail, the same lake. The scenery is extraordinary. The light is everything photographers come here for. A 14-year-old girl walked toward that rock 44 years ago. She has not been found. And if the park with the most cold cases takes people quietly and without explanation, the next one takes them with a scale that makes the search almost impossible from the start. Number 5. Mount Rainier National Park, Washington State. At least 400 people are recorded as missing from Mount Rainier National Park. 400. That number is not a typo, and it is not a single year's figure. It is the cumulative total of unresolved disappearances from a park that covers 236,000 acres of glaciated volcanic terrain. Terrain where a person can fall into a crevasse and be carried for miles under the ice, where avalanches bury entire slopes without warning, where the weather builds so fast that a hiker who was visible an hour ago can be invisible in the cloud before the next search team deploys. The disappearance of Joe Woods in 1999 stands as one of the most haunting. Woods was a writer from New York. Experienced. He set out on a solo summit attempt and vanished on the upper mountain. No body, no equipment, no sign of where he went or what happened. The mountain kept him. In 2023, 80-year-old Dawes Eddy went missing during a solo hike he had completed many times before. An experienced hiker, a familiar route. He did not come back. His whereabouts are still unknown. Mount Rainier is the most glaciated peak in the lower 48 states. 412 people have lost their lives on its slopes, more than any other mountain in America. The missing persons cases are a separate accounting from that. Some of those 400 missing persons are somewhere inside those numbers. Some are not. Some are still somewhere on the mountain, under the ice, in a crevasse that will not give them up for decades, if ever. Now imagine a search team at 10,000 feet. The cloud is in. The GPS says the last known location is somewhere in this area. A half-mile radius of open snowfield. They spread out. They call the name. The mountain does not answer. It has not answered for 25 years for Joe Woods. It has not answered for over a year for Dawes Eddy. 400 people, still waiting for an answer. And if a glacier that carries people under the ice for years is one version of this, the next park does something different. It keeps producing cases that are inexplicable not because of terrain, but because of a combination of density, darkness, and sheer volume of wilderness that makes the search almost meaningless. Number 4. Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Yellowstone covers 2.2 million acres. It is the oldest national park in the world. 3 million visitors a year walk its boardwalks, drive its roads, and hike its trails through the most geothermally active landscape in America. It also has a pattern of disappearances that is, in some ways, more disturbing than the raw numbers, because several of them happen to people who should have been among the safest in the park. The case that stands out most is not a tourist. It is a park employee, a man who knew Yellowstone professionally. In 1980, Paul Fugate vanished from a park he worked in. His case is occasionally cross-referenced with Chiricahua, but reports conflict on the exact location. What is undisputed is the pattern. Park employees, experienced people, people with maps and radios and knowledge of terrain, going missing in national parks and not being found. Yellowstone has one active missing persons cold case from 1991 still open. A case that has been unresolved for 35 years. Beyond that, the park's sheer size means that when someone goes off trail in the backcountry, and Yellowstone's backcountry covers hundreds of miles with minimal infrastructure, they enter terrain where a fall into a thermal feature, a river crossing gone wrong, or a wrong turn in dense forest can separate a person from any trail, any road, and any possibility of being found permanently. The geothermal features are an additional specific risk. The hot springs and their surrounding ground are not just dangerous to visitors who leave the boardwalk. They are also potential sites where physical evidence of a disappearance simply ceases to exist. Now imagine the search coordinator looking at a 2.2 million acre map. The last known location is a trailhead parking lot. The car has been there 3 days. He looks at the map. He looks at the search team. He looks back at the map. Where do you start? And if 2 million acres makes the search almost impossible, the next park does not have Yellowstone's acreage, but it has a history of disappearances stretching over half a century, with cases that remain unsolved not because the terrain is impossible, but because the wilderness simply swallowed the person completely and kept them. Number 3. Rocky Mountain and Glacier combined. The pattern. We are pausing here, not to double count, but to name something the data shows. The parks of the American West, Rocky Mountain, Glacier, Mount Rainier, Yellowstone, share a pattern that researchers and authors like David Paulides have documented across hundreds of cases. Solo hikers, experienced outdoors people, clear weather at departure, no distress call, search dogs that lose the scent immediately and inexplicably, searches of previously searched areas that turn up nothing, cases that stay open for decades. Paulides, a former law enforcement officer who has written extensively on national park disappearances, has identified what he calls clustering, cases that occur in specific geographic areas within parks repeatedly, over years, areas where the terrain does not fully explain why search teams come back empty-handed. The data is real, the pattern is documented, the explanation, whether it is terrain, whether it is human error, whether it is something else entirely, remains genuinely, honestly unresolved in a significant number of cases. That is not a ghost story, that is the factual state of multiple open NPS cold cases. Now imagine you are the lead investigator on a case that has been open for 30 years. The file is enormous. Everything that could be searched was searched. Everything that could be tested was tested. You close the file. You open it again. There is still no answer. And if a pattern that crosses multiple parks is one level of unsettling, the next park is the one with the single most famous missing persons case in American wilderness history, and the case that is still, over 50 years later, completely unresolved. Number 2. Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee, and North Carolina. Over 1,600 documented missing persons cases between 1944 and 2010. 1,600 in one park. The Great Smoky Mountains are the most visited national park in the United States. 12 to 14 million visitors a year. Over 800 miles of trails through dense forest, deep valleys and ridge lines that can be completely invisible in the fog that gives the park its name. 100 to 150 search and rescue operations every single year. Most people are found, most cases close fast. But some don't, and the ones that don't tend to stay open a very long time. The most famous is Dennis Martin, June 14, 1969, 6 years old. He was on a family camping trip with multiple families, a large group. The children decided to play a prank on the adults, splitting up and hiding in the forest to jump out and surprise them. Dennis ran behind a bush. He did not come back out. Over 1,000 people searched 56 square miles of forest. It is the largest search in the history of Great Smoky Mountains National Park. The FBI was involved. The Green Berets were deployed. President Nixon was briefed on the case. A family reported hearing a child scream from a remote area of the park near the Tennessee-North Carolina border on the night he disappeared. Nothing was ever found. Not a footprint, not a piece of clothing, not a single physical trace of a 6-year-old boy who was surrounded by his family, on a trail in a populated campground. Dennis Martin would be 62 years old today. His case is still open. Thelma Pauline Melton, September of 1981, 58 years old, hiking with 2 friends on Deep Creek Trail, a trail she knew well, had hiked many times. She walked ahead of her companions on the downhill section. She was faster than them going down. She rounded a bend. She was never seen again. Her friends were 30 seconds behind her. 30 seconds. The trail is not complex. It is well maintained. There is nowhere to go except forward or back. She did not go forward. She did not go back. Now imagine you are one of those friends. You come around the bend. The trail ahead is empty. You call her name. You look left and right. You call again. 30 seconds ago, she was right in front of you. The forest is quiet. And if the most famous missing persons case in national park history involves a 6-year-old boy and over 1,000 searchers and no answer, the number 1 park on this list has the most staggering cumulative disappearance record of any location in this countdown. Not in cold cases. In total missing. Number 1. Mount Rainier. The full count. We return to Mount Rainier for the number 1 position, not to repeat the earlier entry, but because the full picture demands a second look. 400 missing persons. That is the number associated with Mount Rainier National Park across its full documented history. It is, by any measure, the most significant missing persons record associated with any single national park in the United States. Most of those 400 are not mysteries in the unexplained sense. Many are climbers who fell into crevasses and were carried under the glacier. Their location technically known in the broad sense, their remains simply inaccessible. Many are victims of falls on the upper mountain whose bodies lie in terrain that is either too dangerous or too remote to recover. But a significant number are genuinely unresolved. People whose fates are not known, who entered the park and for whom no physical evidence, no body, no equipment, no trace has ever been found. The mountain is an active stratovolcano covered in over 35 square miles of glacial ice. The ice moves constantly. It carries what it takes with it, slowly, year by year, toward the glacier's terminus. A body that falls into a crevasse in a certain area of the mountain can emerge from the glacier decades later, or never, depending on the route the ice takes. Joe Woods, Dawes Eddy, and hundreds of others whose names are not as well known but whose families have been waiting just as long. 400 people, one mountain. Now, imagine standing at the Paradise Visitor Center on a clear summer morning. The mountain is above you. Enormous, white, completely visible. No cloud, no weather. Somewhere on that mountain, under the ice, in a crevasse, on a slope that has not been searched since the year of the disappearance, someone is waiting to be found. 400 someones. The mountain is right there. You can see the whole thing, and it is keeping every single one of them. So there they are, 10 parks, 10 versions of the same haunting truth. Since 2018, more than 1,100 people have been reported missing in America's national parks. Most were found. Most came home. The ones who didn't, the ones on the cold case list, the ones in the open files, the ones whose families have been waiting for 40 years for an answer. They are the reason the National Park Service maintains a cold case database, a formal acknowledgement that some of these places take people and do not give them back. The parks are still open. They are still worth visiting. The vast majority of visitors go in and come back out, and the wilderness never touches them beyond the ordinary. But the cold cases are real. The open files are real. The families waiting for answers are real. Go to the parks, all of them. Tell someone where you are going and when you will be back, and come home. Thanks for watching.